everybody to the APDSP webinar called Peer Discussion Reprographics Software. I'm glad that you could all join us this morning. I would like to let you know that we have an opportunity at the end of today's webinar to ask questions, and all attendees, you should see on your screen a panel that allows you to ask questions. So anytime during the presentation, please send your questions. And then once we are done with the first few formal questions, we will take those questions from attendees and ask the panelists. And if your question pertains to a particular panelist, please do mention that in your question so that I know who to. My name is Ed Avis. I'm the Managing Director of APDSP. We have 4 panelists today. Pam Turner is the Director of Operations of Digital Now in Pensacola, Florida, and she uses the software called eAutomate. Kevin Anderson is the President of SE Blueprint in Cleveland, and he uses Thoroughbred software. Mark Longsford is the co-owner of Best Imaging Solutions in Chicago, and his company uses Sirius software. And Corey Dearmount is the general manager of Air Graphics in Boston, and his company uses MVS Profits Plus. So thank you very much, panelists, for your time this morning. And I'm going to launch right into the first question. And I'm going to ask each of you to answer this question in turn, starting with Pam. Pam, tell us how eAutomate handles bids and order submissions, if it does.
Good morning, everyone. eAutomate, and I call it ECI for short, it does multiple things, and I don't want to shortchange anyone, but there's a lot of things that we have that we don't use. It will do bid requests. It will do quotes. It will do purchase orders, all of those things. Now, I don't utilize those right now. We have a lot of options in the software, and it has a lot of great capabilities. However, I don't use that. I don't use a lot of the areas that it does have, so I'm
okay.
not able to tell you exactly how it works, but it looks very, very easy.
Okay, great. Thanks, Pam. I know that eAutomate is very well known for its equipment side, so definitely we'll get back to that. Then, can you tell us how Thoroughbred handles bids and order submissions?
Are you asking the question too, Ed?
Kevin, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here. I was wondering if you were addressing it to me. Well, good morning, everyone.
Yes.
Greetings from Cleveland. Again, can you repeat the question again, Ed?
Yes, sure. Tell us how Thoroughbred software handles bids and order submissions.
Okay. I'm under the assumption that by bids you mean a quoting system, which Thoroughbred does handle, and we do use it quite well. What it does is our sales reps have access to certain parts of the Thoroughbred software system where they can create and distribute quotes within the system either via email, fax, or printed paper and delivered. And it stays tagged, that particular quote is numbered, serialized, and tagged to that customer by whatever product or service that we are addressing at that particular time. At that point, if one of our CSR people receives a phone call or some type of an information from this particular customer that they want to move ahead with that quote, Thoroughbred alerts them that a quote exists in the system, so we know without having to have too much handshake with our sales reps that there is an active quote for that particular service, and this is the way we are supposed to proceed with that. And that quote can then be turned into an order. The order then can then be turned into an invoice, and that's all automated within the system if the quote was created within the system.
Great. And can the job, if it's, say, a print job, does the software also handle the order submission, or is that done through some other system?
Well, it will not. If you're asking if we can attach files to that particular work
Mm-hmm.
order, it does not. We've
Right.
explored integrating our accounting package into our internal workflow, which is part of our document management system here, but we haven't explored that one yet.
Okay.
But it
Thank
does
you.
allow
Mark?
the input of a project name. If you let me go on, it does allow be able to go in and alter the quote and alter the orders according to any particular external files that are given to us. All we have to do is identify size, quantity, and then quantity order.
Okay, great. Thank you. And Mark, can you tell us a little about how Sirius software handles bids and order submissions?
Yeah, I'll do my best. First of all, let me preface this by saying that we currently operate both Thoroughbred and Sirius for the two different parts of our business. We've been a Thoroughbred user for over 20 years. We're what they consider, I guess, a power user. We've helped them develop most of their systems. So speaking to the process and along those lines, the reason we're using both softwares is because we needed something that handled the graphic side of the business more effectively than Thoroughbred could. We asked Thoroughbred what their position was on it. They asked us to help them design it. We didn't want to be in the software business, so we wound up getting into Sirius about 2 years ago. We're using Sirius exclusively to prepare bids and work orders for all large format color graphics work that we do here. It's very clean, very seamless, very effective. We're using it as a cost-based estimating and pricing system. So all the pricing that goes out is based on what our costs are running the job to produce the job. And I'm not going to get into too much detail on that unless somebody asks me to, but it's very thorough, unlike anything else that I've seen. Much cleaner and smoother than Thoroughbred is able to handle or accommodate, and much more customizable. Both they have they provide the ability to do the customization yourself, and depending on what your internal capabilities are, I think there's actually quite a bit of customization you could do yourself. And then also they will do any customization you like. Their support is based on the hour, so the software is relatively inexpensive to get into. Where the costs start to become a factor is when you want extensive training or extensive customization. So, in a nutshell, we're very pleased with the way it handles those things. We are in the process of moving our entire business over. I shouldn't say process. We're about to begin moving our entire business over to Control, though we have not started that. That'll be beginning this summer here.
And Mark, clarify. Control is the name of Sirius's software.
Yes, I apologize. Control is what the software is. The name of the software. Sirius is the company. Control is the software.
Understood. Thank you. Great. And Corey, please tell us a little bit about how MV Profits Plus handles bids and order submission.
Sure. Good morning, everybody. So it handles the process of quoting and bidding almost identical to the way it handles order entry. You just enter it as a quote rather than a sale at the time, and you're able to obviously get a quote number that you can tag to the client, and they can consider that, and when they come back, you've got the option of either turning that into a sale or actually tracking it as a lost sale, and why. Where it sounds like Sirius has costs of a lot of the items offline, so you know what the cost of your job is going to be. Those are determined by what you set the system to be. So you would have to do that research first and kind of add that on the back end so that when you come through this, you know what kind of profit you're getting. But it can be set up to do that. It just has to be done offline. And the sales run through just like a quote. It's like you're just obviously going to invoice at that time.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Let's move on to the next question, and that is, how well does your system track jobs and manage inventory? So it's kind of two different things, but related. Pam, back to you. Do you want to talk about that regarding e-automate, or would you rather wait until we move on to the equipment question?
Well, I can speak to the inventory. We do inventory every month, so we make sure that our inventory is up to date on a monthly basis, and it's very easy, to keep up with. We can move inventory very easily. With this system, it does allow you to give specific access to anyone in the company, and every company is set up differently. We're a very small company of about 15 employees, so it allows us to give access to whomever we would like to have access. And in listening what everybody said on the bids and quotes and things, ours works pretty much the same as well. But this system does allow you to give different people access, so that if you wanted to have different phases and one person do the first part and another person do the second part, it can be set up that way, or you can give full access, which is pretty much what we do. But the inventory is very easy to work with. We even have it set up so our technicians can move inventory amongst themselves, which takes that burden off of a dispatch person or someone handling service. That works for us, where it wouldn't necessarily work for some of the other people who need to have more control because they have more people. But it's very, very easy to set up and manage. It's just learning how you want it set up and who you want to have access to it. As far as the jobs, tracking jobs, I'm not sure exactly what you're talking about, jobs that you're tracking. Can you elaborate more on that one?
Specifically in this case, Pam, I'm talking about jobs that were submitted, such as print jobs or graphics jobs or something.
Okay, we don't have any utilization of that. I'm not sure if it has that or not. It possibly will have something of that nature, but we do not use that. Most of our jobs come in, unfortunately, through email. Or through a plan room type of environment that we utilize. But right now we're still working to separate our Reprographics and Blueprints area and merge it with our graphics and sign shop.
Got it. Okay, thank you, Pam. And Kevin, please tell us how Thoroughbred tracks jobs and manages inventory.
Thoroughbred does indeed have an order tracking capability that can be picked up at any workstation with the work order number in hand, or you can query the customer or the project. We have found that we can move jobs faster through our shop without this input because at the end the information changes, sizes, the amount of quantity coming in, the quantity coming out. The customer calls, wants to make a change. It's easier just to change it on the floor than it is to go into Thoroughbred and regenerate a new work order that's trackable, if you will. We do have different outside tracking softwares that we use within our plan room capabilities and also within orders coming in off the internet, whether that be FTP or file transfer or some other type of system. Tracking orders and managing inventory to us is a purchasing function. If it's something that we're buying in a unit, a definable unit, and turn around and selling it in the same definable unit, we use the purchase order system. The items come in tagged by part number, by size, by last cost, with suggested list price, and then we also have what we call our street prices that we put in there. So with the order tracking, the job tracking, the managing inventory, Thoroughbred handles it very well. Making adjustments to inventory, which is always necessary because we maintain two warehouses. I've got warehouse in both locations. inventory travels back and forth between warehouses without it being logged properly, so inventory adjustments can be made, but also transfers as well. So it does have a robust system and able to manage and track jobs and inventory.
Great, thank you. And Mark, please tell us how Sirius Control tracks jobs and manages inventory.
Okay. Well, Sirius Control, we are not using Sirius Control for either of those two functions currently, but we will be converting over to them as we have evaluated their capabilities and they equal or better what Thoroughbred is doing. We're currently using Thoroughbred because all of our other systems other than graphics and sign making is using Thoroughbred still, and we've spent a lot of time. We actually helped Peter build Thoroughbred's tracking system. So the long or the short of it is I'm not using Sirius yet. It does have all the capabilities that Thoroughbred has, as well as a substantial increase in capabilities to be able to massage it and use it more effectively.
Great, thank you, Mark.
Same thing with inventory.
Corey, I'm sorry, go ahead, Mark.
Same thing with inventory. We're using Thoroughbred still.
Okay, great. And Corey, please tell us how MV Profits Plus handles job tracking and inventory.
So it actually sounds like it's very similar to the way that Thoroughbred does it. With regards to tracking jobs, there's actually a customer service module where you can, now I want to preface this by saying that we do not, my shop is a giant square. I can see what's going on in each corner, so to speak, but there are locations obviously that have larger facilities, and so if you want to track a job from coming in to when it arrived to department, you can do that through their customer service module and even get it out for delivery and such. We do not typically use something like that in-house, and we're not actually using the customer service module because of the location size, but that can be done. And then with regards to inventory, it is the same. We don't inventory service items, obviously, so we're just talking about resale or parts or pieces that are in there that we track, by specific codes. We have 3 warehouses as well, so they can be transferred internally through basically a work order. And as we purchase those items, they are added to inventory, and as we sell them, they're taken from inventory as part of that sale process. And much like Pam, we do inventory physically monthly, so that's adjusted, but rarely, as long as we've done our due diligence for the month, do we have many differences in our inventories. It's when somebody did not log something that they pulled from a shelf that we notice we have an issue, but it's live inventory.
Okay, excellent, thank you. Let's move on to question number 3. And I know some systems, accounting functions, and others integrate with QuickBooks or something, but I'd like to know a little bit about what accounting functions your software provides. Pam, can you tell us about eAutomate in that regards?
Yes, I'm not sure which interface it would, I think QuickBooks is pretty standard, and I think this would interface with QuickBooks. But we use the accounting, and there again, we do monthly checks on everything. But it does handle our general ledgers and the cash book system, the balance sheets, accounts payable, receivable, keeps up with our fixed assets and general ledgers. It's a very, very easy system in that once you learn it and you're utilizing it, you can set it up and make it work for you the best way. You can give access again to anyone that you would like to have access to a particular area. Our accountants actually handle the final financials, so they work in it from their end. And we've had a few little bumps in learning it, but it's just kind of the learning curve. But it's very, very easy to manage. It's easy for me when I need to go in and make, a manual financial adjustment, move things around. Let's say someone coded something incorrectly. I can go in and reverse that code you can close out your general ledger. Since we do our books every month, we can close out the period of March or April, and once we close it out, we can still go back and open it back up and go in and make an adjustment or add something perhaps that got missed, and then close it back out. So it's very user-friendly, I think, because I can do it. I don't have to be an accountant, and I can do it. If I need to set up different codes, it's very easy to go in and create a new code as long as you know where it needs to fall in your financials. It's very easy to go in and set that up and separate out perhaps some of the costs that you have, like professional services. Everybody has professional services, but they're for different things, like your IT or your accounting or your software charges. It's easy to break things like that out so that you can see what your costs are running for any given time and for any year. So I find it very easy to work. It's just a little bit more in the training. There are a few things like payroll and commissions that aren't connected to the financials unless you get those modules, but it does give a basic sales portion of that would go into the financials to give you numbers. Great on doing reports. You can create your own reports.
Great, thank you, Pam. And Kevin, tell us how Thoroughbred handles accounting.
Okay, the accounting functions does it provide? Well, quite a few, because that's what it is. The general ledger is what it is. If you create your chart of accounts, you assign certain products, product codes, and certain GL numbers. It has a accounts payable, of course, accounts receivable, order processing, inventory control, purchasing, bank reconciliation. It does have a service contract function, which we can talk about on your next question, I believe, moving forward. Some of the other functions that it has within the accounting itself are voluminous. There's terminal controls, web applications, web development, database accesses, other different tools, backups, and of course the ERP, business management, and general accounting solutions that they have. As Pam had mentioned, it's easy enough that I can understand it. A lot of these packages out here require professional accounting services, and we do use professional accounting services, but most of the heavy lifting inside of the package itself on daily activities such as AP, AR, inventory control, and purchasing, very easy. I have different users throughout the company that manage those kinds of things.
Great. Thank you, Kevin. And Mark, please tell us about Serious Controls accounting functions.
Well, Serious Control, while we are not currently using them, we're getting ready to start, has all of the functionality that you could possibly want from an accounting system, as far as we can tell at this stage, what we've evaluated. We are currently using Thoroughbred, and like Kevin said, Thoroughbred can much do just about anything. I believe their background, if my memory serves me, was in accounting, so that's what they wrote, what the software was based upon. I wish I could tell you more about the accounting features of Sirius, other than I know it's all there. We've evaluated it, and we've made the decision to switch from Thoroughbred to Sirius for accounting.
Okay. And Corey, tell us about Profits Plus in accounting.
Sure. So much like everyone else has discussed, MVS will handle everything from payroll, accounts receivable, accounts payable, your general ledger, inventory control, even processing the order, obviously, through so that you get your sales into what you're going to create at the end of the month, the purchase order. We do not use payroll. That's the only item we're not using integrated into MVS. But it will handle all those accounting functions, and obviously we do all the lifting in there. We do work with an outside accountant to audit, but otherwise everything is done internal. So it's a simple module system, so you've got a module set up for each one of those categories. And once you learn how to basically manipulate through the system, you're able to go ahead and do the interactions. The other thing I wanted to mention is, and much like everybody else, all of those things can be set out as reports and exported either in PDF or CSV. So if you need to work on something special outside of the system and import it into Excel or whatever, you're able to do that. So it's very flexible and easy enough to use for sure.
Great, thank you. Okay, let's move on to the next question. And Pam, I know that eAutomate is strong in this area. Tell us about how your system helps with equipment leasing and sales.
Well, as a small company, we don't really handle a lot of leasing. So I don't really have a lot of machines out there that are leased. If we do lease them, we lease them through a third party. We don't actually hold the lease ourselves. As far as the sales, when we're selling the equipment, of course, we run it through through creating a purchase order and track it that way to the delivery. Mainly, I think what we utilize in this area is the maintenance portion of the sale and the equipment. And under the maintenance area, it's very simple once you learn it. To set up the equipment, you can set up multiple pieces of equipment within one customer file. You can set up multiple meters, whether they're black and white or color. It's all in what works, for you specifically as a company. We don't utilize all of those options. We have found that we've stuck with some of our older ways in keeping our machines a little bit more separate, which hinders us in looking at total profitability. But the system does give you the opportunity to set it up and look at profitability a lot easier than the older system that that we had, because of the way that the way that it has the options that it has now to combine everything together. So you can make it all all in one place. Very easy to work with.
Okay. Great, thank you, Pam. And Kevin, tell us about how Thoroughbred helps with equipment leasing and sales.
Like Pam and other systems, Thoroughbred has a real robust equipment tracking sales system. And we use it primarily for our cost per copy fleet that's out there. At any given time, we've got 75 machines out there that are either owned by a customer where we provide service, or in most cases, we own the piece of equipment and we have it out on a cost per copy, a monthly fee, a meter fee. Certain aspects of the machine, the inventory is paid for, so they get all of their media and some of the ink at no cost. And we use a meter-based system within Thoroughbred to keep track of that. Once a month, we run a report. We get the new meter reads in from an agent client that we install. We put in the end meeting read. It remembers the beginning meter read. We put in how many supplies we put through there, whether they are billable or not, because you can control the billable part of it by the part number for that particular customer is at no charge while this contract is in force. It also allows us to track service calls. When we need a service call, the client either installed on the printer or the client themselves can contact us. We enter in a service log for that particular piece of equipment. We track our equipment by inventory, or by serial number rather, when it's in a cost per copy basis, so we can keep track of who's using it, when they're using it, what are they using the most, are they actually getting supplies from us, and be able to track it all within Thoroughbred. We took it a step further because one of our newer enterprises for the last 5 years is we offer technology and information management services for our customers, where there is a monthly billing fee for the use of a database, an information management database. And then we also can create billing formulas where for every file that we put into their database that they can view online, there is a fee for that. Or if we scan, vectorize, or somehow put in some type of intelligent information to their system, it allows us to track for that billing as well. So we expanded it beyond just the equipment because it tracks it so well that we also do it with our information management side. And as for sales of the machines, as Pam had mentioned, we bring the item in through inventory, track it by serial number, sell it to the customer, but we also put a service contract on that serial number so we can track it. So when that particular customer calls us for service, we can enter in the service codes, modules, any part numbers that we put into it, and have a history of the service on that particular machine.
Great. That sounds good. Thank you, Kevin. And Mark, what can you tell us about Serious Control regarding equipment?
Well, I can tell you more about thoroughbreds than Sirius at this stage.
Okay.
We are not using Sirius for that. I will tell you that for thoroughbred, we have cost per copy leases that are tracked using CPU line software, and we opted not to go with the thoroughbred system because it doesn't transfer that data very well and generate invoices the way they need to be generated. Sirius approached me back in October and asked if we would evaluate what was then in development for their cost per copy leasing and equipment module. I looked it over a few different times. I gave them some feedback. I have not looked at it since then. That's it.
Okay, thank you. And Corey, tell us about how MVS handles equipment leasing and sales.
Sure. So it sounds very, very similar to Thoroughbred in that you can track your leased equipment, your monthly billing or fixed and meter-based charges, your billable or non-billable consumables depending on the program. So if it's like a cost per copy and it's included, you can then take all that information again and, like I said, export it and use it in whatever other specialty items you want to either report back to the client. But for the most part, we do some of that external, and we could actually do it internal, and that's just us not utilizing the system fully. But it will do all of that. In addition, from the service side of things, you can get down to tracking those service calls by serial numbered equipment, and you can either track the cost and profitability of a specific FM or a specific piece of equipment. It can get down to that detail for you, and obviously electronically, bill the client, as needed. But it's very thorough, and in a lot of cases like this, where you wind up trying to integrate this into a system, we find we don't use all the tools that it has, unfortunately, and we really could have an easier life if we did.
All right, thank you, Corey. Audience, before we move on to our last question, which is kind of a broad question about strengths and weaknesses, let me remind you that you're welcome to ask questions using the questions panel on your screen. When we're done with this last formal question, we'll go into those questions. So if there was anything in the previous 4 questions that you would like clarification on, or if there was some topic that was not covered, please do send a question, and we'll handle that at the end. With that, let me move on then. Pam, tell us kind of broadly, what are the strengths and weaknesses that you have found with eAutomate?
One of the strengths and one of the things that really pushed me towards the eAutomate was the ability to do reports. Because we were with OMD for so many years, I think it was like 18 years we were with OMD, and it was more of an, I guess you would call it DOS-based versus a Windows-based system, and it did not have the reports that I would like to have, because I have to do a lot of reports. I'm more on the accounting end or the financial end, as well as a little bit of everything. So having reports and even contracts and looking at different things, the ability to disseminate information out of the system and into a report was very important to me, as was automation. So I believe that this system, not knowing all the other ones, allowed us to create our own reports. We have an area within the system that's called eAgent that allows you to set up a process of reports and also other things, but it will automatically, at a selected time of your choice, go ahead and run reports or send invoices or anything of that nature. But there's also an area called eViews, and the eViews is what really caught my attention because it allows you to go in and select from all of the different areas that you have within the system to create your own reports. Then you can export it as an Excel spreadsheet and then turn it into a PDF file as well. So reports was, I believe, a strength. Weaknesses, I would say, weaknesses is that there is so much involved that you really have to be specific and have enough people involved in the training and the transition. That was a big part of what I was involved in the very beginning, converting all the old data into a new system. You really have to be prepared and have enough people, and being a small company, that's difficult. So that, I believe, was one of the biggest weaknesses, because there's still things that we have available to us that we simply don't use because we need to learn how it works.
Okay, thank you, Pam. And Kevin, please tell us the strengths and weaknesses that you've observed with Thoroughbred.
With Thoroughbred, when we were getting into it, I guess it was almost 20 years ago, we were using QuickBooks, and in the day, QuickBooks databases would get too large that you'd have to start another database and carry over balances from other customers because we do so many transactions a day. Thoroughbred didn't have that. It's a database where it doesn't keep the actual data inside of it. It's a shell of a system. And the cost of it was the most attractive part of it. You can get into it very easily and have it paid for on a monthly basis by just saving money on distribution of invoices. If you can fax an invoice rather than mail it, or email invoices rather than mail them, you can save yourself thousands of dollars a month, just a month in postage. We've actually recouped about $500 a month in postage, and that adds up. And the system doesn't cost anywhere near that much money, depending on how many modules that you buy. Implementation is one of their strengths as well. My friend Mark over here had mentioned Peter with Thoroughbred. He will not leave your place until you are balanced to the penny of that transition information that Pam had mentioned, and that you have a full understanding of how the system works. Comeback visits and the support are incredible. I was talking with Peter twice this morning with ideas and little flubs that we had, but like Mark had said, Thoroughbred likes to learn from its customer base, what they need, what they can use, and implement it, and then roll it out to other customers. Compatibility, well, the functionality is a great strength of it as well. We spend a lot of our time labor-wise trying to collect receivables. And I came up with an idea for Thoroughbred. What if we automated a collections process by mailing an invoice or generating another invoice in our customer space at 30 days or at 45 days if you offer terms. So by the time you pick up the phone and have to make a phone call in the 45, 60-day range, that customer has seen that invoice 3 times because our system automatically generates an email, a fax, or a printed copy with a past due stamp to be put upon it. So the functionality of it and the ability for them to be able to come in and make modifications for you is incredible. The people there and the support is outstanding. Some of the weaknesses that are inside of Thoroughbred, there are too many reports. Thoroughbred has the ability to get very minute in how it comes to create kits for part numbers and things like that. You could probably inventory every screw for every piece of equipment that you sell and actually create a piece of equipment from the individual part numbers within Thoroughbred. Of course, we're not in that business, but they do have clients that do that, so some of that capability carries over as well. I think the largest weakness that I have with it is its kludgy. That means it's not very intuitive. what am I going to do next? You actually have to have training on it. You have to know where the shortcut keys are, know that they exist, or you're going to be reading a whole lot of menus from the top trying to find out what you're doing. But once you get up and running, your fingers can just fly through Thoroughbred. It's intense. That's all I got in.
Great. Thank you, Kevin. All right. And Mark, I know that you're transitioning to Sirius, but have you discovered strengths and weaknesses that you can tell us about?
Yeah, I think I can rattle off a few. So the reason for our transition was, of course, the graphics part of our business, and the other software package wasn't able to accommodate the nomenclature and the nature of the business in general. Sirius does an excellent job of allowing us to do cost-based quoting and invoicing. Thoroughbred doesn't have that capability, and you know, it was a very big challenge in that part of the business. Sirius has a proof approval tracking and a proof approval process that's tied into every order that you've got in the system. It does a very good job of allowing you to convert quotes to orders, automating the process so you're not doing double entry, editing or revising quotes or revising orders, automating the quoting and the order entry processes. A lot of great simple customizations that you can do yourself, something that frustrated me with Thoroughbred. And one last note that I'll give you is that my brother, who's my partner, is an accountant, and he loves Thoroughbred. I'm a salesman, and I hate Thoroughbred. So, you know, there's good and bad. I think for the accounting functions, you know, it really doesn't job, but for training people and getting them to use it comfortably and whatnot, I like Sirius much better. That's it.
Thank you. And any weaknesses about Sirius that you've observed? Mark, any weaknesses that you've observed about Sirius so far? Oh, okay, let's go on to Corey. Corey, tell us about the strengths and weaknesses of MV's Profit Plus.
Sure. So I would say, much like most of the previous panelists, and I've used them just to kind of give a little history. I've been working with MV since back in 1999 with several different firms, and now have it here at Reprographics. And the thing that always impressed me the most was the fact that I could get literally the developer or the vice president on the phone and talk to him regularly if I had to fix a problem. And when I say a problem, just something I typically couldn't figure out. They're flexible. You're dealing with a human being every time. It's not like you're getting an email back as to try this or try that. You put a support call and you're getting a call from somebody who's an expert that can help you figure out how to develop that report or whatever it is you need. So I would say on the strength side, you know, everything that they cover, you know, from soup to nuts with regards to accounting and our quoting, and I'm most impressed with their support and flexibility and how they're able to do things that I wasn't sure we'd be able to accomplish, but they find a way, including something with regards to working on e-commerce, which we're trying to get more involved with from our website, and they'll be able to help us with the transaction and billing almost direct and integrate it directly into their system, which we've started discussions on. I was trying to think of a weakness, and it's hard when you have a good partner, but I would say that what makes them difficult at times is that people outside of our industry haven't heard of MV Alliance. It's not a software that's familiar to anybody unless they've been in this industry. So, you know, right now we're actually hiring somebody as a senior accountant in the office, and where she may be familiar with QuickBooks or Peachtree or, you know, some of the general software packages that are out there, you know, this is a learning curve for her. It's not a difficult system, but it's something she's going to have to learn to utilize so that she can work within that system that, again, is proprietary to our industry or, you know, auto parts industry or wherever it was before Reprographics. So that would be the only thing I would say as a possible weakness with regards to it. But, you know, we've overcome it because it's not difficult to use, and I'm sure that other users have felt the same.
Great, thank you, Corey. Okay, we do have a handful of questions from the audience, so I'd like to move into those. Some of them are questions for everyone and some are not. The first question was we had an attendee ask if Mark was, when he talked about moving the rest of his business to Sirius, was he referring to his black and white CAD reprographics work? And I think that that's what I was talking about, but Mark, can you confirm that that's what you mean? You're moving all of your regular repro work into Sirius?
Yes, all of our traditional repro work, CAD printing, FM, cost per copy, leasing, machine sales, material sales, everything. Yes.
Okay. And you've just found that Sirius you handles that to your liking more than Thoroughbred.
No, I won't say that yet. What I will say is that Sirius handles the graphics part of the business far better than anything else we've evaluated, and that our initial evaluation, not implementation, of it handling everything that Thoroughbred does for us appears to be equal, on par, or potentially better than what Thoroughbred is doing for us. And that's what's helped us to make the decision to move everything over. But we have not started the process of migrating repro yet. Okay.
This next question really applies to across the board. So let me, I'm going to ask the question to all four panelists. I'm not going to name you, but if this question applies to you, please just speak up and make a reply. I don't think it will apply to all of you. The question is, how does your system handle CRM or integrate with other CRM software? So any four of you, please comment on that if you can.
Ed, this is Corey. I'll chime in. We are not using it for that, and I'm not sure how MV actually integrates that information with regards to tracking things or tracking orders, or there are reports that you can file daily that will indicate what you need to take care of by customer. But I don't think, because I'm assuming what the person's asking is that they've actually got a CRM system they use. And I'm guessing that they're wondering how that integrates into this system. And we do not use it for that, so I am not sure.
Okay. All right, let's move on to another question. And again, this is for all four of you. And it is, do any of the softwares auto-integrate meter readings for FM contracts? Or does the customer enter the meter reading data?
I can take that one.
Anyone like to respond to that? Okay.
There are quite a few. This is Kevin with SE Blueprint in Cleveland. There are quite a few agents available for you out there. If you're a Xerox small format authorized reseller, their client will work on almost any printer in the system. The one that has been put out by Sepia Line now called Printer Point is an excellent meter read agent where it reads back. You can get daily reports sent into you. I get them daily. We use them monthly because we bill monthly, and the transfer from the Printer Point report to Thoroughbred could be automated, but it takes us just a few minutes a day. But there is some fat finger problems that you have when you manually enter that data. So we will probably task Peter at Thoroughbred to automate that report going into Thoroughbred so it automatically will build itself. And as for tracking FMs and those kinds of things, it's just too easy to have this client. However, you are going to run into that IT guy that just absolutely refuses to allow anything installed onto their network. So you still need to make that occasional phone call out there to that obstinate group.
Okay. Would anyone else like to reply to that question? Okay. Kevin, here's a follow-up on that, and that is, can service techs across the system remotely via an app log service data on any of the systems?
Yes. You just need to be able to have the remote access to Thoroughbred on any particular device that you have, and that can be either an iOS, Android, or a laptop. To be able to basically, it's a
Okay, great.
just a tunnel into your server. That's all you do is you log into it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the last question that we have is directed to Kevin and Mark, and that is, does anyone use JobTrack in Thoroughbred? Do either of you use JobTrack?
Mark, you want to go first?
We built it. Yeah, we use it extensively. It is
okay.
It is the heartbeat of our company.
I can jump it from here.
Okay, and tell us, Mark, what it's good.
Go ahead, Ed.
Okay.
Well, it gives us a real-time, live perspective of everything that's going on in our shop, in every single department, the status of a job, when a job's coming due, allows us to click into any job and see the details of what's been requested, dispatching, tracking, shipping, as orders move through departments, it tells us where the order's at. It does, you know, everybody in our company lives and dies by the job tracking system. We have it displayed on monitors throughout our entire operation.
And Kevin, you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, in response to Mark's and your question about the job track on Thoroughbred. It is robust. It is a very sane way of doing business. We are probably going to be moving into it as soon as I can get some more people trained onto the system. My belief held over the last 15 years was I can have a job from door to door within our shop done faster than it would take to enter it within the system. Simply because we are a fast track job company. It's either supplies coming in or out. We can use the job tracking to help our accounting people when they're actually doing the invoicing, but we see that we can get the job in and out the door faster than it would take us to log it inside of the system, because we don't need to look up and see where jobs are. Where we have more complex jobs, as we're getting into more and more construction site signage and some more interior decor color work, that's where I see the Thoroughbred job tracking and the work that Best Imaging and Thoroughbred has done to be able to take advantage of that as well. So we use it when we need it, when it's a longer process to manufacture whatever our customer is doing at the time. But if it's our normal AEC CAD type work, we push it through the system and do a back end order entry and then an invoice. Where that bites us in the ass is orders go through for customers that may or may not have an account, or customers that have exceeded their credit limit, because Thoroughbred and any order tracking software would allow you the notification that customers over their credit limit, or they're on credit hold, or a specific instruction is involved. So it makes more sense to go into an upfront order entry than to do a back-end order entry, and we are going to slowly transition that into our group this year for the benefit of knowing who it is that you're dealing with and what their credit status is and those kinds of things.
You know, if I can add something to what Kevin just said, just briefly.
Sure.
The reason job tracking is so integrated in our operation and why it's so important to us is because, like Kevin said, there is a little bit of a process to the order entry, and you can definitely get out CAD work much more quickly than you can enter an order in. The concern that we had, though, was that the follow-up wasn't complete and effective, or if follow-up was even being done. We felt that jobs were getting delivered or going through the plant and an order ticket never generated or an order ticket lost. So when somebody wants something, everybody in our plant cannot process that order until a job ticket is generated. That was the reason we went through it. But Kevin is absolutely right. You know, the 5 to 10 minutes that it takes to get that in and get it output and get it into the plant is definitely longer than you can turn some of those jobs. So there is a little bit of a process involved. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, that's the end of our questions. Unless a panelist has a question for another panelist, does anyone have a question?
I do not.
Okay,
Hey, Ed, this is
great.
Corey.
Well, let me, yeah, Corey.
Just following up to the last question with regards to Thoroughbred and how they're tracking that through, and I want to just reiterate that what they're both going to do, putting those orders in up front, and it's a very simple process within MVS, but putting those orders up front allows us to track an order that may not have been billed. So those tickets, we're the same way as Mark is. You cannot run a job, you cannot touch a job until it's got an order number attached to it, because there's no way for us to find out after the fact if something got through the cracks. So I just want to make sure I cleared that up there.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. I appreciate everyone's time today. This recording, this webinar will be posted on the website, and you can look for that in a few days. And in fact, in Friday's APDSP newsletter, we will publish some highlights of this of today's webinar, so that everyone can read it again. The last question we had was from an attendee who asked that I mention everyone's name and software again as we leave. So let me thank the four panelists. Pam is from Digital Now in Pensacola, and she uses eAutomate. Kevin Anderson of SE Blueprint in Cleveland uses Thoroughbred. Mark Lungsford of Best Imaging Solutions in Chicago uses Sirius Control and Thoroughbred. And Corey Dearmount from Air Graphics in Boston uses MVS Profits Plus. And you can find their names on the APDSP directory, on the website, or of course on the internet. And if anyone has any further questions, you're welcome to email them to me. My email is ed.avis@apdsp.org. Thank you very much for attending, everybody, and I hope that you found it useful, and I hope that you will tune into future APDSP webinars, and I hope you will all consider attending the APDSP conference in October in New Orleans, where we will be holding Job Site University, a day-long session on technology used on job sites. All right, thank you very much. This webinar has now ended.
Have a great day.